Welcome in. You're watching the weekly live stream training here in Be a Yoga Coach Facebook group where you're a yoga spiritual healer and you're wanting to create an online business. I'm your host, Yoga Coach Sarah, and I'm here to tell you and train you today on how to become a world-class yoga coach and what that means for you in the upcoming year. If this is something that you're considering doing for your business, transitioning into an online yoga business, then this training is for you. So go ahead and let me know if you're joining me live or if you're joining me on the replay. This gives me a chance to look over some of the comments and help create content that actually serves you and helps you move on to your business building journey, as I did a couple of years ago. I was a 9-to-5 worker. I worked for an employer most of my adult life, and now I turned into a yoga entrepreneur where I help yoga coaches, yoga teachers build their online business and teach them how to become a coach and learn how to do this online industry, because it is a big jump. There is a huge transition, and I want to make it easier for you so you can get started on it, get your questions answered. Now I work from home almost, entirely, and if not all of it. And I enjoy working for myself, and I want to show you how fun, easy, and just so much more, reliable when you work for yourself, and it's just more for fulfilling, especially if yoga and coaching is something that you want to do. So my mission in life is to help spread yoga and spiritual businesses and healings, as it saved my own life. Yoga, spiritual practices that I've adopted in my life, and now are helping me, just not only survive, but just thrive in my own life and my own family and goals in life. So in this group trainings, I'll give you a leg up in this online industry game, because it's something I didn't do alone. And I want to show you that there are certain mindset shifts that you need to switch from being, employee minded to a more business owner mindset. That you need to create for your own yoga online business. As most of you are starting, you're starting alone, or maybe you're starting with, another person, maybe an assistant, and you want to think of a way of making it easier for yourself and start embracing abundance in your life. Okay. Instead of, maybe overworking yourself and trying to understand how many hours of the day are you going to create more time. And that's something that we can help you begin shifting to. Okay. I've filled in enough slots in my day that I can give to people that can pay for my service. And I don't know how. I'm overstressing myself. I'm physically tired. I'm mentally tired. How do I make this easier? There is a way. So like most teachers, you're likely selling your services per class, maybe per week. I don't know. But you're likely selling your services that's just tied to you. And so what I'm about to teach you inside this group, this training, is that I can show you how you can trade your time into a system that's scalable, that doesn't just require you to be there all the effing time, because that's what keeps us to, maintaining a job, maintaining, income that way. And so that's why I wanted to create this for you and show you that in order to become a world-class yoga coach, there are some different ways you got to do differently. And it's very possible as long as you stick to them. Okay, so stick with me, and I'm going to show you the exact steps to do that today in this group. So go ahead and just type in hello for me. I am about to create some goals for the new year. I want to make sure that you stay with me and I keep you accountable, so that if you're in this group, you're likely wanting to build a yoga online business. And I want to show you how easy it is to do that. So I wonder what happened to my Zoom. Where is that? Oh, okay. That's probably what happened. Can't find my share button. Anyway, okay. So I was going to share the document here and show it with you, but I think, oh, here it is. Found it. Okay. Share screen. So if you want this document that I have for you, I want you to type, copy, and I'll shoot you over a copy to the messenger, so you can print this out and have it ready for you to see. Okay, so is it this one? Let's see. Yep. Okay. So what is a world-class yoga coach? So a world-class yoga coach is a leader who embodies good habits and have businesses that have successful clients. That's what I like to explain, is that not only are you building, a sustainable business for you, but it's also a business that where your clients are reaching their own goals. They're reaching their own, own things that they set up for themselves, right? If you have a solution for the problems that your clients are experiencing and they're successful at achieving it, that's what I mean by, having world-class quality, right? And world-class yoga coaches are people that don't trade time for their hard-earned money, okay? And I want to show you that, most people like to, teach like per class, or, teach by the hour, right? And so I want to get you to kind of shift your mindset in creating a business that doesn't require to be present all the time. And so what does that even look like? What does that even like, how do you even do that? And so what you do is you coach them along their transition journey. You coach them along their own healing journey. Okay. And if you're doing this work, if you're a yoga teacher that's an expert at a certain field, or maybe you have found a way to heal yourself through yoga and have solved those problems, and you're wanting to show, and your ideal clients are just like the versions of you before you healed, that's perfect. Okay. And so that's what I want to get you to start shifting your mind towards. Okay. Shifting your beliefs and how you wrap your mind around your work, that you're not exactly trading time for money. Okay. So how do you do that? You can do that in an online system, because you can do things such as like record classes, you create courses, and you get your students and clients to follow your step-by-step yoga program. And that's how you get them to be more successful. Your clients are definitely going to be more successful if they're practicing yoga regularly regularly meaning like every day, right? Or most days of the week. And you work with them for 9 to 12 weeks. Okay. And that's how you can start to charge your program and your services at such a high amount, because you've already created that. And that's why it's so important to have just one client, right? One ideal client, so that you're serving a bunch of people. And in the online space, you can do that. Okay. A coach is somebody who walks alongside their students or clients and help them see their goals are attainable, just like you've attained them when you begin practicing yoga and begin applying spiritual practices. And then, and you do it by giving small actionable tasks for your people, for your students, and keep them accountable, right? And so everyone is just drowning in information, but nobody is being led to somewhere. And this is exactly why yoga coaches are needed, is they want just somebody to keep them in line, to keep them focused on their goals and their wants. And they're going to thank you for it. They're going to thank you that you're creating a program that's specific to them. Okay. And it has to be specific and ideal and niched in. And that's why having a niche or an ideal client is so important in this type of work. Okay. You can't serve everybody when you're not talking to anybody. If your message is, I serve everybody, so that's the biggest way I'm going to serve the world. But what happens online is it gets drowned out. It's ignored. It gets blended in with the noise, right? And when it's like that, then you're not serving anyone really. And so that's why we teach you how to niche in your work, and so that one specific type of person is looking to you for a solution that they can't solve on their own. Okay. And so what is a coach? A coach is a student that alongside, coaches their students alongside their yoga and spiritual program or practices. Okay. By creating your own online program. And so we teach you how to do that step by step. And so, some of the routines that you need to apply in this, and be really gentle and careful with yourself, okay, about this, is because what most people do is they try to set like a routine, and once they like fall off, then they're like, okay, well, this routine's out the window and I'm not going to start doing it again because I messed up, I fucked up, right? And so what you want to do is to, tell yourself that you're going to do it. And if you fall off, just get back on again. Okay. No one's telling you that just because you missed a day or two, a week, doesn't mean you can't get back on. So I want you to just remember that you do have to have your own routine so that you can get yourself back on track, because you're the one who's the head of the business, and you're the one who needs to hold yourself accountable. Okay. And so routines are going to need to happen when you become, a yoga coach for people that really need you to be there consistently. Okay. And so I wrote down success journal because it's actually one thing that really worked for me in the first year, is to, like, I know if I hold myself accountable and have a success journal, I'm more likely to do it the next day. Okay. So I'm going to show you what that is. And it can look different for everybody. Okay. But 90% of the people, and I'm just throwing out random statistics out there, most people that don't write down what they're doing are likely going to go back to their old routines and old habits from what they know. Okay. Because that's kind of what you're used to doing. I call it like old programming, right? And so when you're trying to implement a new programming, you're trying to implement a new routine, then you're more likely to fall back on the old programming. And so you have to develop some type of routine to keep you, to make that shift. And what you do is not huge leaps and bounds right away. It's small, steady steps toward your goal. And that's what counts. Okay. It's not about the destination. It's not about feeling like, you're already a coach or already a business owner. It's about making those small steps towards that. Okay. And so one thing that I did was, I started holding myself accountable to like a success journal. So this is one of the things I did on the first year. and this is just like a sample. So pick yourself one, but I really like this because it just, it took everything that I wanted to do that was going on just mentally up here. And it helped me stop my thoughts, think a second, and actually ground the thoughts to paper. Okay. And it has really cool things like reflection questions, weekly things. So just really, really good tips to keep you motivated and keep you going, because entrepreneurs require really good routines and really good mindsets to fall back on. Okay. And if you're like me, where I was an employee for an employer, a lot of things were like fed to me. And so we were built as kind of like these machines, right? Like we're here to watch out for mistakes. We're trained to fear failure because we're created we're created to be like these, just cogs on the wheel, right? But in this type of work, you're kind of becoming a leader now. And so as a leader, the way you approach mistakes, the way you face fears of the unknown are so brand new. And it's something that you will have to get comfortable with really quickly. And what you do is how you manage mistakes, and how you get back up from them, and how you learn from them really, really quickly. Okay. And you start to, and once you start applying your routines and the little actions that you're doing, then it starts to become less scary, and things start to get less unknown. Okay. Because you're putting them down. You're writing them day to day in your journals and then in your habits. And so number thing that's really important is to create your own work environment. Okay. What most people do is that, they kind of work from, what's easy, like maybe a desk somewhere and they haven't cleared up, or like a junky room. And you really want to create an environment where going to work or at your business is pleasant, that you're looking forward to, and it gets you mentally and physically like ready to do this. So if you're starting your business at like, a junk full of papers and boxes and, toys, baby toys and whatnot, it's going to mentally just like take you out of an easy flow mentally, right? And so creating your environment, taking away some things, clearing stuff away, really helps. Okay. So create your work environment. And then, well, it's not really, so as a routine, right? Like you create like a healthy work. So you maintain your work environment when you clear it out. Okay. So workspace is clear and it's easy for you to jump into your work right away. A really good thing to implement into your daily routines are meditation or reflection. Okay. As in like past trainings in this group, is more than just doing. You're also needing to look back and reflect. And so creating spaces for meditation really helps you do quality work instead of like quantity, right? The quality of work gets you further along and makes you enjoy your work a lot better. Okay. And so this is the thing too that you really need to inhabit are reading books, because you don't know what it is to become like a leader yet. So you're going to need to borrow ideas from people that have been there. So this is something really good for you to start implementing, either like it's what's easier for most people. What's easier, what worked for me are like audiobooks. So I listen to it instead of like, you know, wasting time on distractions like social media. You're feeding your brain with things that help you grow your business, grow your, you know, clear your mind, you know, something that's contributing to your dreams and, you know, your goals. Okay. And sometimes, you know, when you develop this habit, you start to believing more, you start to implement actions more, and you are more likely to keep things in theory and actually start applying your work. So what I really like about these books that I listen to, so I've read Atomic Habits. It was just such an awesome audiobook because it's very like, I like it because I'm a therapist by training. And so behavior mindsets and behavior type things are just like is like icing for me. So it makes sense to me. The habits are just really small little micro adjustments to your day. And as you build onto it, you don't notice it until like a year later, you look back like, I am not the same person. Hi, welcome in. How are you doing? Tell me if you're joining me live. I'd love to know. Tell me your name. Thank you for joining me today. And so that's what I like about it, is that this book really helps get me to start setting small, achievable habits that are not overwhelming. It's just something that I can easily do. And he explains it in a way that's just like, oh, anyone can do that. Why isn't anyone doing that? Right? Thanks, Amber. Thanks for joining me live. Amazing. And what I do now is I listen to them whenever I get a chance, like even when I'm doing like, you know, walking and whatnot. It's just something that's enjoyable and it feeds my mind instead of my worries, right? Instead of the worries that I have about business. Those are not going to go away, but you have more of a choice when you're choosing something that feeds your mind, okay? And when your mind is picking up thoughts from these books, you're more resilient, you're more likely to move forward. And then I really like the book, The One Thing. This is also just like blows my mind, right? Because we're kind of been like, I don't know about you, but we've kind of been taught to like, we got to multitask, right? And this book is very anti-multitasking. It's telling you that the most successful people do one thing at a time, right? And it's just like an amazing, like a quick read. And I like going back to these books time and time again. Okay. And then The Year of Yes is also another amazing audiobook by Shonda Rhimes. And it's just kind of telling you all the, you know, especially things that you've always been dreaming of doing for you. And because what happens is we're always listening to the no's, right? And I've read this book like, I think like 2 years ago, might have to reread it again. It's just like, helps you change your mindsets around saying yes intuitively to your business, to what you need to do, instead of like, you know, always being cautious and never taking a chance. So those are really some really good books that I highly recommend. And I narrowed it down to 3 because, you know, I just wanted to give you something bite-sized and like easy to apply. So Atomic Habits, The One Thing, The Year of Yes are just really great books to start off. You know, and then you just give yourself, like, if you can't do a book a week, then do it like a month, right? And then easier to do with audiobooks. Oh, and so easy things to like get audiobooks too is like your local library offers free audiobooks, right? And that's how I'm listening to a lot of these things is like, just go to my library, download the app, and then a lot of these audiobooks are like available for free. Okay. So it's one thing that you can do, especially if you're just starting out, as you build your business, as you build, as you get more income, you can expend some of these books in your business, and you can kind of keep them going. Okay. And so last but not least, business planning. So if you're something that thinking about like planning for the year, I want you to start, looking into your ideal client training. It's also, and even if you've created this already, like it's always good to kind of go back and kind of remind yourself, who's my ideal client? Like it's, sometimes we get into our heads and I already know my ideal client. And then you go back and do this work. You're like, you know what? Like, I'm not practicing this. Like I had this ideal client in mind, but I'm actually not doing this as I create my content or when I create my messaging. Okay. So go back to your ideal client training and then, start creating a schedule for your time, right? As you build your business, you are really trying to develop a good relationship with time because, as you go on with it, you can only do one thing at a time. Okay. And that's what I mean by creating your schedule is that I tell my clients to have, we call them like time blocks. So you create daily time blocks, meaning you can only block out one thing for that hour or like one thing for that 30 minutes. And that's all you're doing. That's all you're going to give yourself to do. Okay. 30 minutes to write like a copy for your ads, or, 30 minutes to really sit down and think about the post that you want to write for this time, for Monday, right? And that's it. That's all you're doing. So you're blocking out time, meaning that you're just dedicating that hour of time, the 30-minute block for that time. And as you practice it, you do it every day. So I'm looking around because I have like a planner here where I each day or each week I go through and list out what I'm going to do that day or week. That's it. So I'm not wasting brain space on, I'm like, oh, what am I doing again? What am I doing? Like I know exactly what I'm doing at this time of the day. Okay. And you don't have to be overwhelmed about it. Like if you can only do it for one thing at a time, then do it one thing, like 1 hour at a time, and just build on it. The idea for you is to just practice doing, creating time blocks for yourself, and then just build on it. Okay. So that's what let's do that. Create time blocks. Okay. So if you want a copy of this, just type copy and I'll share it with you. And then, create your coaching plan. And we can help you do that too. Is for this type of business, you're going to need a coaching plan that'll keep your clients accountable. We give you kind of a basic set of how to create it, which is like your clients will usually go through a 3-month program, and you create weekly content for them to follow. But they're likely going to be doing the yoga and spiritual practices every day or most days of the week. And you're there to keep them accountable, and you create a coaching plan. So you follow up with them, weekly, and you create questions, you create things that you can automate. We can teach how to do that to keep them accountable, to keep them, cracking at their goals, of their New Year's goals. And it's such an important time for people to start beginning to implement yoga goals, right? Fitness goals, health goals. Is such a great time of the year for people to develop like these amazing plans for themselves. Okay. And then you get to do all this at the comfort of your home. Okay. And, and then you can start to create like, okay, I'm going to create my yoga class is here. I'm going to record my yoga class about this so that they can implement it here. And you do it week by week. And if you want, if this is something that's interesting to you, I can create a spreadsheet to easily do this. So if you want a sample of how we can do that, we can create something real quick for you. Just let me know if you're interested in doing that type coaching plan, and we can send it over to you, and we can start creating that for you so they can help build your coaching business plan. So that's all I have. And so, but one other thing that is very helpful is that you have to somehow have daily mindset motivations for yourself. Okay. And it's really like how to know what you're most likely doing in the upcoming year. So these 3 things are going to tell you what you're likely going to be doing. Okay. So what you think every day is a tell on what you're going to be doing. Okay. If you're thinking about your worries, if you're thinking about like being scared about not having enough money, if you're thinking about like, leaving or staying at your job, or you can't leave your job because of this, and I don't know how to plan. And so just be very, very wary of the thoughts that go through every day. What you think every day is going to tell you where you're going to be in the upcoming year. Okay. It's like a loop. What you think every day about yourself is a loop. And then it doesn't change until you change something about it, and until you start thinking and start inserting things into your thoughts every day, either through book reading, having successful routines. This is how you change the loops. This is how you change what you think every day, is through these routines, these books, and these actual small little micro planning. Okay. And then what your environment is, I think I touched on this, is like, if your environment is a huge reminder of, your past, right? And so, a good thing is that you can clear the environment, change the environment. If you don't like working in your office, if your office or bedroom, if you work in your bedroom, if you work in your kitchen, it makes you want to eat, if it makes you want to sleep, it makes you want to do nothing else but do your work, you are in the wrong environment. Create an environment where you're instantly, feeling motivated to do and work on your business. Okay. Some people have to take it out. Some people like go to Starbucks. Okay. Go to Starbucks if it's open, a library if it's open, some space. Go outside, go to your like backyard or your terrace or your balcony, and just change up the scenes, change up the energy. Okay. And then of course, your actions and your habits determine what you're most likely going to be doing in the upcoming year. Okay. So, and then once you start making small little micro adjustments to your actions and habits, you're more likely going to be closer than where you are, than you were last year. Okay. And our goal and our program is to get you started. We kind of help you just get right into the game, and just, and to stop listening to your fears and actually help you begin to deal differently with it. We help you become more resilient and to start like being comfortable with it. Okay. Because, this is something that really is like, that really is learned through action. It's not something that you can theorize and hope that you'll become that way, or it only happens to certain people. It's in the small little actions that we do every day. So that is all I have. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Thank you for joining me in today's training. Let me know if you're wanting a copy of that. And so right now, I always do the tarot pull. And I'm going to do a tarot reading for you guys here. It's the tarot, the Radiant Rider-Waite Tarot. And we are now in Capricorn season. Let's practice your big boss mode. Time to stop keeping all the theories in your head and to start trying out what actually works, meaning start applying it, start practicing it, materialize it, materialize the thoughts that you have, the ideas that you have, and start to bring it down to earth. Okay, so what is the message for you? Ooh, the Hierophant. So we've gotten the Hierophant before. The Hierophant message is to really get to indoctrinate yourself into your business. And this is usually tied to like religious or practices and whatnot. And so it is kind of like, this business is kind of like your own religion. You kind of you have your own practices about it, and it's time to develop your own. It's time for you to step up and actualize some of the dogmas that you need to bring forth into your business. Okay. And it's time for you to step up. You see some of the people looking to you, and sometimes it starts with developing your own beliefs, your own culture. And we teach you about developing your own culture in your business. Okay. Really think about what kind of culture, what type of business that you like to run, and to start developing practices for it. Okay. That helps keep people, really like, okay, these are people that will only learn by doing, right? And they need your leadership and your expertise in knowing the dogmas that you've developed. Okay. And so that's what the Hierophant is to me, is to really like honor that. So that's the message for you. That's the Hierophant. Okay. It's Capricorn season. Let's get down to working. Let's get down to your big boss mode. Okay. And I don't see any questions in this live chat. So if you do, though, you're welcome to send me a message on the messenger. I can help you get clarity on your business. And if this is something that you're really interested in doing and want to see if it applies to you and your business, I'm happy to walk you through that with a free business triage call. You have a message waiting for me in your messenger. Please check that. And if you don't, welcome to message me directly. And I'm happy to guide you through your New Year's goals. And I want to teach you that this is something that's so achievable and exciting for your business. It's something that's that can easily be scalable. It's not something that you got to be tied to your time. Okay. And it's something that's once you understand it, you're just like, oh, why have I not thought about doing this before? Okay. And we'll help you get through that. You don't need to have experience. I didn't have any experience when I started. I hired my own mentors to help me teach this. And it's time for you to start thinking about the return on your investment. If you want to invest in yourself this year, for next year, okay, and want to really learn how to be successful and live doing yoga every day, okay? So I'll see you on the next one, and have a great New Year's Eve celebration. I'll see you next time.